All right, we are live. Hi, everybody. I am Danielle. I'm the director of the Fertile Spirit, which is the patient support program at CNY Fertility. And every week, usually on Thursday evenings, I have someone come on to have a conversation with me about what they do and kind of how they're involved in the field of holistic perspectives towards fertility, mind, body, spirit. And I came across Tia actually from our friend Christine Goldman, who works at CNY Fertility, and she told me about this book that Daniella and Tia, and actually we just have Daniella here today because Tia had, I think, a problem with her dog. So we're sending love to her dog. But so we just have Daniella here today. They've just launched their book. It's called The Infertility Doula, which I think is a brilliant name. Yes, they just launched their book, and we'll talk about where you can get it and all of that stuff. But I wanted to bring Daniella on here today so that we could, we can talk about your story and how you came to this and what's in the book and what your plans are. And I think it's really amazing what you guys are doing. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. I'm Daniella, and I am co-author of The Infertility Doula, and I have been on my path, my journey for actually 17 years, believe it or not. So have a little bit of experience in all things infertility for the most part. And basically, like Danielle mentioned, I got to know Danielle and learning of the Fertile Spirit through CNY. I myself am a CNY patient, so it was wonderful to hear that the Fertile Spirit was going to be a thing, and it kind of warmed my heart and just made our book coming out around the same time Fertile Spirit launched kind of all meant to be. And like, how when things happen, you're like, okay, these things are going really, really well. So congratulations on the Fertile Spirit. It's really, really great having that, for our community. So thank you. And then, thanks for having me. All of our love out to Tia with her doggy Dubnik. And we're thinking about you.
So
go ahead.
So you said 17 years?
Yeah. Okay. So my husband and I have been trying to conceive for 17 years. Started off back, we started trying, we were married for about a year. I was almost just, I was 22, 23 years old at the time. And like, I remember it was like March 5th, 2004 when we started to try, and I cried because I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be a mom, and like, we're going to have a kid, and what are we going to do? And 17 plus years later, here we are, still child-free with two furry puppies. But we were diagnosed with male factor infertility in 2005. And we have been through a few IVF cycles, IUIs, I've done some testing, and I have had one miscarriage at 9 weeks and a couple of like chemical pregnancies or blighted ovum or chemical pregnancies. And I have never officially been diagnosed with anything that they would think that would hinder me carrying. So it's been one of those things where I want to test everything, even though I've never been diagnosed with anything. You want to do everything you can to try and figure out what's wrong, because I'm a fixer and I want to just keep going. I'm stubborn. I'm too stubborn to stop. And I have so much hope that I'm like, it will work. It will work. And I got to keep going. I'm 40 years old, but more and more people are having children later, and it's not as taboo. I feel today, being 40 and continuing to try is okay. Like, it's okay to continue to try at 40, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise, unless, like, I think you feel it. You end up feeling that in your heart, or the testing and whatever like concludes like, okay, like you really need to move on to X, Y, or Z, right? And my book talks, our book talks about all of that from the moment you're diagnosed with your regular OB to questions to ask your reproductive endocrinologist, to reproductive immunology, to IUIs, IVF, time cycles, what baby dancing is, the psychological aspects. There's a
Yeah.
huge part, financial pieces, and then alternative methods to trying to conceive. So whether it be adoption or foster care, surrogacy, or even with the LGBTQ community and things that they go through and what they have to go through. And same thing, donor sperm, donor egg, all of it. It really is jam-packed full of questions and answers and information, but most important, what we wanted to hit home with is stories, personal stories. Because when I was out there back in the day when I started, it was like, World Wide Web, and the questions and answers that people would do. I don't know if they were like they weren't really blogs at the time. It was just more like chat rooms or whatever, where you'd go and ask questions. And all I wanted to hear were stories like mine, or people, stories like that I can relate to. So our book is plumb full of stories from men and women who have been on the journey, things that they've been through. Even a mom of one of my friends contributed, giving her side of the story as a supportive person. So yeah, a lot.
Yeah, I'm like, there's so much. I'm kind of like, where do we begin? Because your story alone, like, just even if you hadn't written a whole book, 17 years, and like, and you're still kind of going, and you have this hope, which I think in and of itself is incredible and an inspiration to so many people. And of course, like, you would become an expert over, nearly 2 decades of kind of learning about this and trying different things. And, so I guess like, but I want to get more into the book, but I guess my question for
Go
you,
ahead.
how do you kind of sustain this vision, this hope, and like, what does that feel like for you? And like, what does that look like in your life?
So my husband and I have, been through ups and downs through this entire journey. It hasn't been easy. When people split up because of infertility, it's real. Like, we've been through a lot. And at the end of the day, we love each other, and we are there for each other. And, when I'm down, he's up. When he's down, I'm up. And we're, there keeping each other going. But the other side is therapy. We've been through therapy because after our second IVF cycle, he was ready to be done, and I wasn't. I was like, I'm young. I'm still young. I still want to keep going. In my head, I'm the one doing the shots. I'm the one, going through an egg retrieval. I'm the one doing all these things. But sometimes we forget how involved psychologically our partners can be. And even though they're not doing anything physically except, providing a sample when they are supposed to at the time, they're going through everything with you. And so we ended up going to therapy here in the Twin Cities. I'm in St. Paul, Minnesota, and it really, really helped. I don't recommend it enough. I can't recommend it enough to seek, like, whether it's a professional or another thing I'll talk about is a support group, but talking to people that have been down this road, or to a therapist or whatever, I think really helped us, helped our marriage, helped me, helped him. And then, so the support group, I attended a conference for Resolve here in the Midwest in 2010. And it's the first time so at that time would have been about 5 years that we were trying. It was the first time I didn't feel alone, and that there were so many others like me, because there were about 150 or so people there. And I was like, wow, this is a big community. And I just love the breakout sessions, everything from infertility 101 to living, giving up the biological dream. And I think that session has stuck with me since 2010, like
Wow.
how far one can go and one can do, and then one day decide they're just ready to give up the biological dream and try alternatives. But after that after the 2010 conference, I said I had to start a group locally. I lived in Duluth, Minnesota at the time, and so I contacted Resolve. I started the local Resolve support group, and it was awesome. The first time no one showed up, and then all of a sudden we became this little family, and we still are in communication today. And that's how in 2012 Tia joined the group, and how we met, and how we just became close friends. And Tia went through a different thing than I did. I really wish she was on to be able to tell her story. But at the age of 31, due to like endometriosis and adenomyosis, had to have a full hysterectomy at the age of 31.
Hmm.
I mean, that alone
Yeah.
is, a lot too. So it's just a lot. And the support group really helps because like monthly we got together, and we didn't do it in like a library room or a conference room. We met up for apps and drinks at like ladies night at the Martini Bar, and a restaurant that had live music. So we'd always do something to kind of get our spirits up,
Yeah.
and to talk about some serious things, but we tried to keep it as light as we could because of how dark it can be. So
Mm-hmm.
we met, and then in 2018, Tia started her blog, and then wrote for Pregnantish and Stepmom magazines, and then said, "Hey, I'm thinking about this, writing a book. Do you want to do it?" And I said, 100%, because I told myself back in 2005, or 2004, 2005, when we were diagnosed with male factor. I'm like, if we get whatever happens at the end, I want to write to, live and then write about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, heck yes, let's do it. And so in 2018 is when we started everything, and we officially launched just this month. So it took a
Wow.
little while, but we got there.
Will you hold up the book? It looks like so
Yeah.
robust.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So it's a nice size, comfortable, it's soft, but visually appealing. And Dr. Kiltz endorsed it.
Oh, nice. We love the
Yeah,
Dr.
that was amazing. Yeah, that was great. But it's very, very easy to read. Most people that have given us feedback have said it's a easy, quick read, but not just because it's simple, but because of, the font, and because it's just they're interested and they want to keep reading, so they read through it. But
Yeah.
yeah.
And it sounds like it's really like it's pretty comprehensive. So it's like if you're
Yeah.
kind of going into this, it's like almost a guidebook for going
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
yeah.
And there are journal pages in the back, as well as like an example. One of my charts from taking my temperature and all
Mm-hmm.
of that. And yeah, there's a bunch of different stuff, and from all angles. And we aren't two women who have had children. A lot of books that are out there
Yeah.
have that happy ending. And so we still, Tia, won't be moving, pursuing having a child. She has finished, and her passion is, the infertility doula, and supporting and advocating, and, making sure that people talk about infertility. And I don't have any children yet, but still am on my journey.
Mm-hmm.
Still haven't given up hope, and I'm still, going further. But that's what's different too about the book, is that we haven't had the happy ending, or we won't have the ending that we thought we would
Yeah.
potentially. And we wrote this book because we just felt in our hearts that we needed to write that guidebook that, yeah, you can Google, right? You can Google stories. There's stories all over. There are a lot more people online talking about it. But to have to have a book in your hand to read is always nice. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And I
yeah,
think, the happy ending is such a, I talk about this a lot, but like we get very attached to what happy looks
yeah,
like or what the outcome is. And it's just,
yeah,
I think so much of this path is just really staying open to like staying open to the possibilities, staying open to being surprised, staying curious, knowing that like, you know, that we can really kind of like get hemmed in by our ideas of the way that things are
yeah,
supposed to be, and that actually
yeah,
it's, you guys have given birth to something that's going to help so many other women, and in that way, like you become not only like a
yeah,
doula to these women, but like you become a mother to these women because
yeah,
they're guiding them. And so it's just like the story keeps unfolding in ways that we can't even
yeah.
imagine when we begin the journey.
I mean, we get so involved in, like, for those women that and men, couples that we become friends with or get to know. Like a friend of mine, after 3 years of having struggles, a friend of an acquaintance of Tia and ours, mine, a friend in Duluth, um, had gave birth after 3 years of infertility. She had IVF, miscarried, second time around, it worked. She um, gave birth, but it was, for lack of better words, like hell. Like, it was very tough. So not only did she get pregnant and have PTSD because of having a miscarriage and everything she went through, even if you get what you think is what you believe is that happy ending, it doesn't end there either. Like the struggle and the anxiety and whatever, it keeps going. And then in the end, for her to have such a traumatic birth experience, like, I like looked up to the sky when I read her story. I'm like, come on, like, can you, like, why couldn't you give her a break? And you get so involved, and I got so emotional, and I was so upset for her, and I
Mhm.
had to take a step back, and I'm like, wow, like, sometimes you really do, like, I not feel like a mother, like, to some maybe because they're a lot younger than I am, but just feel like a big sister, and
Sure.
just care and have so much passion. And you're at, like, I advocate for women, and I tell women all the time, and men, to, like, speak up for themselves, and always, if they have something to say it, not to, to
Mhm.
keep quiet about it. But yeah, like, your emotions are, they're real. And how much you care for people and become so, like, protective of them, and, like, want to fight for them and all of that. Yeah, it's been wild ride. But it's, like, they say it's the club that nobody ever wants to be a part of, but I wouldn't have it any other way, because the community has been amazing.
Yeah.
And the people you meet along the way, the friendships I've made over the last 17 years, like, I wouldn't want to give back
Yeah.
ever.
And it sounds like you've just grown and learned so much as
Oh,
well. Journey
yes.
like you might not have ever
Yeah.
honestly been kind of forced to confront and to learn and to
Yeah.
grow. So yeah.
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 I know so much about things that I never thought I would. I know so much about my body physically. I know so much about the process and what you can do that nobody ever thought about.
Mhm.
Like traveling, for procedures and things, and all the tests that you can take that nobody tells you about when you're 21, and they're like, oh, you have time, where sometimes you really don't. And you learn about the community, you learn about resources, you learn about tests, you learn about natural things, you learn about therapists, because there are so many therapists that have no idea about this journey, and you really want to find somebody who has, like, a knack or a specialty, or in something close to it. I think it's a little bit different than, like, I went to a therapist who just dealt with, like, mental illness, and it just didn't feel right. But sometimes it is. Sometimes you find the right person and it just fits, and it is fine.
Yeah.
But now there are more and more that are specializing in this genre or the specialty. But yeah, getting to know like people like Dr. Kilt who are out there to advocate and to make things affordable. Dr. Amy in California, the Egg Whisperer, she's a lovely woman that I've gotten to know, and just it's just amazing how lovely people are too. Because
Amazing people
a
there
lot
are.
of times in the infertility world, a lot of people are like, they just want my money, or they just want us to spend all this money and they don't care. And it's not true. There's so many there, might be clinics that are that way because they can be, but there are many providers that really, really care and really, really get involved and want you to be successful with whatever path you end up taking. They're there to support you and hold your hand through it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm seeing just a question from Elizabeth saying we're scared because we've caught a cold right after transfer, and is that a risk? And while I can't speak to like the medical risk that may or may not be, although a cold sounds like a cold, and our bodies are strong.
Yeah.
I think you're already, you kind of said it, Elizabeth, that it's causing anxiety, and I think that just does speak to kind of the heightened level of anxiety that we feel around all this stuff. And when we finally feel like we've gotten our chance, or it's time for retrieval, or it's time for transfer, and just kind of how can you just, I mean, from my perspective, it's like when that anxiety comes up, rather than like disconnecting from ourselves in fear, like how can we really slow down, take the deep breaths, like really try to connect to anything that gives you a deeper faith in the process, whether that's nature or a higher power or just your own heart, and put a hand on your belly and on your chest and just really slow down. And obviously, if you're feeling really sick, of course, contact your provider. That goes without saying. But I hear you. I know from myself, when there's anything going on physically, I have like heightened anxiety. So just knowing that about myself, I'll be like, oh, Danielle, you're doing that thing again. Like it'll pass. You've done this about every little thing, and I'm not minimizing this, but I'm just saying we can kind of learn that we have whatever our patterns are and how to work with them.
You don't want to sneeze because you think that you'll knock the embryo out, or you don't want to go to the bathroom like very strenuously because you think you'll push the embryo out. There's so many anxieties, and it's okay. They're real, and I'll be thinking about you, Elizabeth. Thank you for asking the question. But I'm sure if you are worried, obviously, like everybody says, contact your provider, and just to double check, you can always contact them. Never be afraid to do that. But I know many who have gotten sick, colds, whatever. Many people I know have gotten a cold in that first trimester, and some people say, well, sometimes that can happen.
Yeah. Well, also when there's a lot of stress and a lot of expectation.
So your immune system,
So just really, again, trying to, do everything to do to support your system, support your spirit and your mind, and and if it's going to help you to reach out to, even if I think that's so important that we advocate for ourselves, and like that you ask those questions, anything that's going to alleviate that really unnecessary, or maybe necessary, but likely unnecessary anxiety is the right thing to do. So
it wasn't Google back then either when I first started. I just searched for things on, oh man, do you even remember? It wasn't Googling back then. It was, I forgot what search engine we used to use, but you'd go through and look up I'm sure many of you too, like during the 2-week wait. Oh man, it's like the longest, 10 days usually, but it's the longest days. You're searching everything, every symptom like causes anxiety and heightens this, that, and the other. And especially if you've been through it before and have like a traumatic experience from previous things, it just makes it worse. But, you know, grab a good book, laugh. I always recommend like comedies and funny shows. I'll rewatch funny movies that I grew up watching, and read funny things, and get together with girlfriends or friends, and go for walks, drink some warm tea, meditate, yoga, anything that just calms me and tries to get me to not think directly about the obvious, like the elephant in the room. But yeah.
I mean, it's funny because as a therapist, I'm always like, yeah, let's get into it. Like, what are the fears? Like, what are the anxieties? Let's work on it. But I actually really do believe that there are times when we're very triggered, and it's like, it's okay to distract yourself. It's okay to watch a funny movie. It is, and just to give yourself a break. Or sometimes it's even saying, like, if your mind won't stop racing, to kind of say, like, okay, if it's in the middle of the night, tomorrow in my schedule, I know that from like 11 a.m. to 12 p.m., I actually am going to devote that time to just worrying. I'm going to worry. I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do. And then I'm going to turn it off again, because otherwise it just becomes this endless loop. So I think it's important that we kind of are in dialogue with the parts of ourselves that are scared, and we kind of parent those parts of ourselves too by talking to them. And so thanks for that.
Are there any other questions? I can't see them.
Oh, you can't see them. Okay.
I don't think so.
Jamie was just saying hello. Yeah, I don't think there are any other questions, but I just want to make sure that
maybe
people know how to get your book.
So we have our website is theinfertilitydoula.com. And but Amazon is easy because many of us are Prime members, so you can just buy it and it'll ship for free and you'll get to you quickly. But so theinfertilitydoula.com, Amazon, and then we're also on Facebook and Instagram as the Infertility Doula. So if you search there, you'll find us.
Awesome. Yeah.
And great. we hope to have copies at I have to talk to Dr. Kiltz, but we hope to have copies at the clinics available, just like he has the Maria Emmerich books hanging out there. So we want to get some copies to the clinics, of course, so that they're readily available for people to buy if they're there, and all of that. So even connect with us on Instagram or Facebook, and we're more than happy to talk to people, and take advantage of the Fertile Spirit. They have amazing women, and working with them, and it's great. I've heard some good things, and of course the Healing Center is amazing too. So I found I did a egg retrieval in 2019 with a fresh transfer, and then I did a frozen transfer in July of 2020. And I went to the Syracuse office, and I highly, highly recommend a massage and acupuncture. It just made me so ready and zen, and I was so comfortable, relaxed, and it was a great experience. So
those centers are such a wonderful benefit to being at CNY. And I'm just grateful. Everyone listening, if you're listening now, if you listen later, do check out this book. It's an amazing, comprehensive resource. Tia and Daniella have so much experience, and they put so much into this. And I think if you're going through this journey, just having it by your side when you have questions, knowing that you have a really trusted source, and do check them out on social and their website, which is all in the chat. So, hopefully we'll have that book at some of the CNY locations as well. And we'll just keep talking as the Fertile Spirit evolves. Just for anyone watching, because we are a new program, I'll just say that Fertile Spirit is CNY fertility support program. And we also work with people who are not at CNY. We're really here as a team of
Right.
coaches and doulas to help people through every part of the fertility journey. We work with health and wellness, nutrition, couples coaching. We have men's coaching now. We have some pretty inspiring people, and we also have a membership that we just launched. So there's a lot of different options, and we'll keep having these kinds of conversations and growing our team.
Yeah.
The more that people reach out to us, the more we can grow our team. So I'll put that in the chat too, like our website. So
Yeah.
if anyone's wondering, and then
and then speaking of the men's piece, Father's Day is coming up, very tough for many men out there. So thinking of all of you, and this weekend, it's, Mother's Day is hard. Many people talk about Mother's Day, but a lot of people don't really talk about Father's Day. And we know you're out there. We hear you, we see you, and we're thinking about you. So speak up. You're out there too. Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad, Daniela, you could come on, and please send our best to Tia, and everybody check out this amazing, beautiful resource that they put together. It's really a gift to everyone on this path. So I'm really glad.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Danielle. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. It's been so great to get to know you and work with you, and wish Tia was here. She's my, my partner in crime, and we couldn't have done this without one another. So hopefully one day we'll maybe come on again, and Tia will be able to hop on too.
Sounds good. Okay. Take
All
care.
right.
Have a good night.
Bye. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night. Bye.
Bye.